They laughed, loud, openly, like I was some kind of joke. Hi everyone, I am Mel Robbins. I remember the way they looked at me like I was nothing, just a kid who didn't finish school, a lost cause, a failure before the race even started. But let me tell you something, that laughter didn't break me. It built something inside me, something strong, something stubborn. Because that moment when you become someone else's punchline, that's the moment you've got a choice. Let it define you or let it drive you. They thought it was over before it began. But what they didn't know was, that was just the beginning. The part where it got hard, the part where it got real, and the part where I stopped living for approval and started fighting for purpose. Back then I was the punchline, now I set the standard. I used to be the kid people whispered about. The one they pointed at. They called me dumb, lazy, a waste of time. But now I'm the one they look to. Now I'm the example. I went from being laughed at to being studied, from ignored to followed. Not because I was special, but because I refused to stay where I started. You see, your starting point doesn't define your final place. I didn't get here because I fit in. I got here because I refused to give up. And if they could laugh then, you can rise now. Let's get something straight. This isn't about a classroom or a report card. It's not about grades. It's about knowing your value when the world tries to mark you down. It's about finding something in yourself even when others only see what's missing. Dropping out of school didn't make me broken. Letting go of belief would. You're not defined by a diploma or someone else's opinion. You're defined by what you decide to believe about yourself. And belief is where it all begins. You've been listening to everyone else for too long. Parents, teachers, strangers, even people who've never walked a day in your shoes. But here's the truth. Every time you let them tell you who you are, you hand them the pen, and they write a story that doesn't belong to you. So let me ask you something. Who's holding the pen in your story? Who's shaping your future? If it's not you, then it's time to take it back. Because you weren't made to be a background character in someone else's version of your life. You were made to write your own chapter. And it starts now. I didn't even get a chance. Before I could show the world who I was, they already stamped me as a failure. Too slow, too quiet, too different. I was just a kid, but I felt it. That feeling of being looked at like you're already done before you start, like you're invisible unless you mess up, then suddenly, all eyes are on you. They put me in the corner and never expected anything from me. And over time, I started to believe maybe they were right. Maybe I wasn't going to be anything. That kind of rejection doesn't just sting, it settles in. It wraps around your thoughts and follows you everywhere. When the world gives up on you before you even begin, it teaches you not to try. It teaches you to shrink, to hide, to stay small. But even in that silence, even in that space where no one believed in me, I knew deep down there had to be more. Because just because someone gave up on you doesn't mean you're finished. It just means they couldn't see what you were carrying. And that's not your problem, that's their limitation, not your label. You hear something long enough, you start to wear it. They told me I wouldn't make it, that I wasn't smart enough, not driven enough, that I didn't have what it takes. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't start to believe it. Because when you're told over and over that you won't make it, it doesn't feel like noise anymore. It starts to sound like truth. That's what happens when voices from the outside become the voice inside. I remember sitting alone thinking, maybe I really am wasting my time. That's the danger. Not when they doubt you, but when you doubt yourself. That's the war most people never see. The one happening inside. The one that's way louder than anything the world could ever say. And that war almost had me. It almost kept me stuck. But then something hit me. If they were wrong about what I could do, maybe I was wrong for listening. And that was the crack in the wall. The place where the light started getting in. Because self-doubt can only live where your belief hasn't been built yet. Once belief shows up, everything starts to change. This isn't just my story. This is yours too. You've been there. Standing in a room where no one saw your worth. Speaking up only to be talked over. Trying your best only to be told it's not enough. And you start to wonder if it's even worth trying at all. Maybe you've heard the laughter, felt the looks, the way they size you up before you even speak. That's the kind of pain that doesn't show up on the surface, but it burns underneath. It shows up when you doubt your own potential. It shows up when you settle for less, just to stop feeling like a mistake. But I need you to hear this loud and clear. You are not a mistake. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just unfinished, and they don't get to decide what you become. You've already come too far to keep shrinking. You didn't make it through what you've been through, just to end up stuck in someone else's shadow. This is your reminder that the pain you felt doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're ready. And now it's your turn to rise. That doubt you carry, that hesitation, that voice that tells you you're not enough, it didn't start with you. Someone gave it to you. Maybe it was a teacher, a parent, a stranger, or a moment where you got hurt and never healed. But that voice isn't truth. It's a hand-me-down, and it's time to give it back. Because the words you live by shape the life you build. And you don't have to live by borrowed limits anymore. People will try to label you small, broken, unworthy. And if you let them, you'll carry those labels for life. But here's the truth. What they say only becomes real if you agree with it. You can't control what they think, but you can control what you believe. And belief is where power lives. You're not their version of you. You're your version of you. And the moment you stop chasing their definition, you start building your destiny. Let me hit you with something real. No one's coming. No handout. No rescue. No shortcut. For a long time, I sat in the dark waiting for someone to see me, waiting for someone to fix it, waiting for someone to tell me I was enough. But the truth? That day never came. And one day I had to face it head on. If I didn't move, I'd stay stuck. If I didn't choose me, no one else would. That's when everything changed. Not because the world got easier, but because I stopped waiting. You see, too many people are sitting on their dreams hoping someone else will give them permission. Let me tell you, permission is a trap. You don't need it. You need a decision. You need a moment where you look at your life and say, I'm not waiting another day to start showing up for myself. You don't get stronger by being saved. You get stronger by saving yourself. So I'll ask you again, no one's coming. So what are you going to do about it? People love to talk about talent. They think success belongs to the gifted, that it's something you're born with. Let me tell you the truth. It wasn't talent that got me here. It wasn't straight A's. It wasn't IQ scores. It was fire. It was intensity. I wasn't the smartest in the room, but I was the most focused. I was the most obsessed. While others were sleeping, I was studying. While others were scrolling, I was sweating. Success doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most committed. The ones who show up tired. The ones who show up scared. The ones who show up anyway. You don't need genius to win. You need grit, hunger, repetition, obsession. You need to want it so bad that you're willing to look foolish, willing to outwork everyone, willing to keep going when no one believes in you. That's the secret. It was never about intelligence. It was always about intensity. Picture your life like a locked door. On the other side, everything you want, the impact, the growth, the peace, the power. But here's the thing. Most people stand in front of that door their entire life, waiting for someone else to hand them the key. They think it's opportunity, or luck, or timing, but it's not. The key is belief. If you don't believe in your ability to grow, to change, to build, then that door never opens. Not because it can't, but because you never tried. Belief isn't some fluffy idea. It's the fuel behind every action. Without it, you'll stand in front of that locked door and convince yourself you're trapped. But with it, you'll turn the handle, kick it down if you have to, and walk through. So stop waiting for something to open from the outside. Dig deep, find the belief, because once you have that, there's no door you can't get through. Let me ask you something and be real about it. What lie are you still living like it's true? That you're too late, too broken, not enough? Who told you that? And why did you believe them? Somewhere along the line, someone planted a lie in your head and you let it grow roots. But just because it grew doesn't mean it belongs there. Lies are like chains. You carry them long enough, you forget they're not part of you. You forget you can drop them. Every single limit you've accepted started as a lie, and the only way it stays alive is if you keep feeding it. So today's the day to dig it up, rip it out, question everything you've been told about who you can be. Because the truth is this, you've been living under weight that was never yours to carry, and it's time to let it go. They called me a dropout, like it was a life sentence. Like that word defined everything I could and couldn't be. But they missed something. I didn't quit on life. I didn't quit on growth. I quit on a system that didn't see me. That doesn't make me broken, that makes me bold. I didn't drop out. I detoured. And guess what? That detour led me to everything they said I couldn't have. The truth is, sometimes the straight path isn't your path. Sometimes the route you're told to follow doesn't fit your fight. So don't let a label hold you down. Don't let a title trap you. What looks like failure to them might be freedom for you. Your journey doesn't need to look like theirs. It just needs to be yours. And as long as you keep walking, that detour becomes your direction. People see the highlight reel, the big win, the viral moment, the end result, and they think that's what success looks like. Loud, fast, and flashy. But here's the truth. Real success is boring. It's built when nobody's watching. It's built in the silence of early mornings, late nights, and daily grind. It's not found in moments. It's found in repetition. In doing the same simple things right over and over again. You want results? Then get comfortable with quiet work. Get comfortable with discipline that doesn't clap for you. You don't need noise to grow. You need focus. You need to show up when it's hard, when it's cold, when no one's checking for you. Because that's where the work gets done. That's where the habits are built. That's where the breakthroughs begin. Anyone can get fired up for a day. But what about when it gets boring? What about when it's not exciting? That's where most people stop. But that's exactly where you need to keep going. Because while they're chasing attention, you're building a foundation. Quiet, strong, unshakable. And one day, they'll ask how you did it, and you'll smile because they weren't there when it wasn't fun. They weren't there when it was just you, the work, and the silence. Let me tell you what people don't talk about. The birthdays I missed, the nights I stayed in, the invites I said no to. Not because I didn't want to have fun, but because I knew what I was building. While they were out partying, I was practicing. While they were relaxing, I was refining. While they were spending, I was studying. And it wasn't easy. I had moments where I questioned it, moments where I felt left out. But then I remembered what I wanted later mattered more than what I wanted right now. That's the price. Sacrifice isn't glamorous. It's not pretty, but it's necessary. You don't get to have it both ways. You either live for the moment or you build something that lasts. Every hour you put in while others take a break adds up. Every rep, every page, every decision to stay locked in when everyone else clocks out. That's where the edge comes from. That's what separates the few from the many. So don't envy the ones celebrating now. Keep working, and one day they'll wonder how you did it. This is the part where people fall off because they want the reward without the work. They want the result without the process. But here's the rule: no excuses, no shortcuts, no surrender. You either do the work or you don't. There is no middle, no maybe, no back door. You don't get to talk your way into success. You earn your way in. And when it gets hard, you don't pull back. You double down. When things don't go your way, you don't blame. You build. You don't get to say, I want it, and then sleep through it. Every single day is a test. Are you serious? Or are you just saying the right words? Because the grind will expose you. It doesn't care about your plans or your dreams. It only respects your discipline. So remember this: no matter what comes at you, you don't fold, you don't flinch, you don't stop. No excuses, no shortcuts, no surrender. Let's talk truth. You say you don't have time, but you've scrolled for hours. You say you're tired, but you've been staring at a screen, feeding your mind junk all day. Here's the hard truth: your future isn't in your feed, it's in your effort. Scroll less, sweat more. That dream you keep talking about, it's not hiding in someone else's highlight reel, it's buried under your daily habits. You can't build a life by watching someone else live theirs. Every scroll is a distraction. Every wasted minute is time you never get back. And you wonder why you feel stuck. It's because you're letting screens steal your energy. You don't need another video. You need a plan. You need action. You need to shut off the noise and do the work. So today, make a decision. Trade comfort for challenge. Trade scrolling for building. Because the future you want isn't waiting on your thumbs, it's waiting on your hands. People will tell you to calm down, to slow down, to balance it out. But here's what they don't understand. This isn't a hobby, this is your calling. And calling takes fire. Obsession isn't your problem, it's the price. If you want something great, you can't treat it casually. You've got to go all in. Lose sleep for it, get uncomfortable for it. Push through the days when your motivation disappears. The truth is, the world belongs to the obsessed. The ones who show up not because it's easy, but because it's who they are. Don't run from your fire. Feed it. You don't build anything big overnight. You build it brick by brick. One action, one habit, one choice at a time. And some days it won't feel like it's working. Some days it'll feel slow. But every brick matters. Every step stacks. That's how you build something real, something that lasts. Don't chase big moves, master small ones. The world rewards those who keep laying bricks when no one claps for them. So find a mentor, track your progress, stack the wins, even the tiny ones, because every brick you lay today becomes part of the legacy you leave behind. I remember the moment like it was yesterday. The first time they clapped, the first time I stood on a stage and heard that sound. But let me be clear, it wasn't about the words I said. It was about everything I did when no one was watching. It was for the work, for the grind, for the nights I wanted to quit but didn't, for the times I failed and showed up anyway. That applause didn't come easy. It was earned in silence, built through repetition, through rejection, through pressure. You see, people think the moment you arrive is what matters, but it's what happens before that no one talks about. The quiet choices, the small wins, the invisible discipline. That's what gets noticed. That's what they're clapping for. Not the person holding the mic, but the person who earned the right to be there. So if you're grinding and wondering if it's worth it, don't chase the stage. Build yourself in the shadows. Do the work when it's thankless. Keep growing when no one sees you. Because when that moment comes, when the world finally notices, it won't be about the spotlight. It'll be about the sweat, the effort, the fight, and that will speak louder than anything you say. There was a time when every word I spoke was met with smirks. When my voice didn't carry weight, it carried doubt. They mocked me, laughed at me, rolled their eyes like I was wasting my breath. But I kept speaking, kept working, kept building, and little by little something changed. Not just in how they saw me, but in how I saw myself. I stopped trying to prove them wrong and started focusing on proving myself right. And now, the same people who used to mock me repeat my words. They share my messages. They teach their kids the lessons I had to learn in the dark. That's the power of persistence. It flips the script. It takes your lowest moments and turns them into someone else's breakthrough. Don't let their laughter stop you. Let it fuel you. Because one day, if you stay the course, they won't be laughing. They'll be listening. People look at the stage and think that's where it all happened. That standing in front of a crowd is what made me, but they've got it backwards. The stage didn't change me. The struggle did. It was the rejection that shaped me, the silence that taught me, the grind that built me. You don't grow in the spotlight. You grow in the shadows. You grow when nothing's working, when everything hurts, when you keep showing up, even when you've got nothing left. That's where the real transformation happens. Not in the win, but in the fight for it. So don't chase the platform. Embrace the process. Because when it's all said and done, the audience will come and go. But the strength you build in the struggle, that stays. That's yours. You don't need applause. You need purpose. We live in a world that makes you think being seen is the goal, that you're only as valuable as the noise you create. But let me tell you something. The applause fades. The likes fade. The claps come and go. What lasts is purpose. What drives you when no one is cheering. What keeps you steady when the crowd is silent. If you only move when you're praised, you'll never make it. Because purpose isn't about them. It's about you. It's about the reason you started. The fire inside you that no one else needs to understand. That's what carries you through. That's what keeps you real. So stop chasing attention and start chasing alignment. Because when you're locked in on purpose, nothing can shake you. They used to laugh, loud, careless, certain that I wouldn't make it. But I didn't ask for their faith. I built my own. And now they lean in. They listen. Not because I proved them wrong, but because I stayed the course. Because I didn't quit when quitting felt easy. This was never about being right. It was about rising anyway. Not for applause, not for approval, but because I knew I had something to give, something to say. And now I say it for the ones still being laughed at. So they know this isn't where it ends. It's where it begins. You've heard what I've been through. You've walked with me through the silence, the grind, the doubt, and the rise. But this was never just about me. It's about you, your story, your struggle, your decision. Because now that you know what's possible, the question flips. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to sit there and let this be another thing you listened to but never acted on? Or are you going to draw the line? You see, motivation means nothing without movement. Inspiration dies without action. I told you what I've been through so you could see that your excuses don't get to win anymore. You're not waiting for a better time. You're not waiting to feel ready. This is your mirror moment, where everything turns from their story to my story. You don't get to stay the same and expect life to change. So forget what happened before now. This is about what happens next. You've got a decision to make, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. And the truth is, deep down, you already know the answer. You keep saying you're stuck, that you don't know what to do, that life has pinned you in place. But let me call that out for what it really is, fear. You're not stuck. You're scared. Scared of starting. Scared of failing. Scared of what people might say. But fear wears 1,000 masks. It'll show up as confusion, as perfectionism, as I'm just waiting for the right time. But all of it leads to the same place, staying still. And that's the real danger. Not falling, not failing, but freezing. Let me tell you something. Clarity comes from movement, not sitting still. You won't figure it all out first. You'll learn on the way. You think fear will shrink if you wait long enough. No. Fear grows in silence. Fear multiplies in delay. The only way to beat it is to move, even if it's messy, even if it's small. You don't need the perfect step, you need a bold one. So stop hiding behind the word stuck. You're not stuck. You're just scared. And scared or not, it's time to move. You keep waiting for a sign, for a chance, for someone to tap you on the shoulder and tell you it's your time. But here's the truth. No one's coming. No one's gonna hand you the life you want. No one's gonna pick you out of the crowd. That's not how this works. You want to change your life? Then stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself. Choose to show up when no one's asking. Choose to speak when no one's listening. Choose to rise when no one thinks you will. The day you stop waiting is the day you start living. You don't need permission. You need a decision. You think you failed, that this moment broke you, that it proved what they always said. But what if you're wrong? What if this isn't the end, but the beginning? What if the fall is what clears the path forward? It's not a setback, it's the setup. The setup for something stronger, wiser, sharper. Every delay, every disappointment, every closed door, it's not punishment, it's preparation. For the next level, for the real fight, for the moment when your comeback silences the doubt. So stop seeing this as the end. It's the moment everything starts to shift. They laughed when you said you had a dream. They laughed when you started small, when you stumbled, when you struggled. They laughed because they couldn't see what you were building. They only saw where you were, not where you were going. But keep going anyway. Keep building. Keep rising. Because that same laughter, it turns quiet real fast when results show up. When the work speaks louder than words. When the vision becomes reality, they'll laugh until they pause, until they whisper, until they lean in, until they start asking how you did it. That's how it always works. First they laugh, then they watch, then they follow. So let them laugh. That's just proof you're doing something worth noticing. Every second you hesitate, the clock keeps ticking. You don't get time back. You don't get a pause button. Life isn't waiting. And here's the part we don't like to admit. None of us know how much time we've got left. You think you have years, but all you really have is now. The hours you're wasting hoping the fear will fade, hoping the path will get easier, hoping the world will give you permission, those are hours you never see again. Imagine if you could count down the exact number of days you have left. Would you still scroll? Still doubt yourself? Still wait? You've got something to give, something to build, something to become, but every time you say later, you're gambling that you'll still have the chance. You don't have time to waste on doubt. You don't have time to wait for courage. The clock's not slowing down, so what are you waiting for? A perfect plan? The right mood? Someone to tell you you're ready? Let me tell you now, you are. You're ready to move, to act, to take back your time, because it's not just ticking, it's disappearing. Make it count before it runs out. Let's stop pretending. It's not about time. It never was. You say, I just need more time, but what you really need is more truth. The truth is, you've had time, you've had windows, you've had chances, but you filled them with distractions, delays, and doubts. You don't need an extra hour. You need to be honest about how you're using the ones you already have. You keep waiting for life to slow down, but maybe the real problem is you've been slowing yourself down with lies. Lies like, I'm not ready, I'm too busy, I'll start next week, but next week becomes next year, and next year becomes never. Let me tell you what most people won't. You don't have a time issue. You have a truth issue. You've been running from the hard decisions. You've been hiding behind fake priorities, and deep down you know it. So stop asking for more hours. Start asking yourself why you're afraid to use the ones you've already got. Because once you face the truth, you won't need more time. You'll make more progress. You're not lost. You're not confused. You're at the edge of the fire. That moment where everything inside you is screaming to move, but fear is holding your feet to the ground. And let me tell you something, that fire, it's not going anywhere. You've got two choices. Jump into it and let it refine you, or stand still and let it consume you in regret. That fire is your potential, your calling, your growth, but it's not comfortable. It doesn't come wrapped in safety. You're going to get burned by discomfort, by effort, by facing everything you've avoided. But if you don't jump, if you stay frozen, you'll burn anyway. You'll burn slowly in the pain of what could have been, of the chances you didn't take, of the person you never became. The pain of doing the hard thing is sharp, but the pain of regret, that one never fades. So don't wait. Don't stall. You're right there at the edge, heart pounding, hands shaking. But this is the moment. You either jump or you don't. And that decision, it changes everything. You don't need more hype. You don't need more time. You need one thing to show up. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, just fully. You show up when it's hard. You speak up when it's uncomfortable. You step up when it feels like too much. That's how change happens. That's how growth works. Not when it's easy, but when it's earned. Let this be the moment you stop sitting on the sidelines of your own life. Show up for your future. Speak up for your worth. Step up into the version of you that's been waiting to break through. No matter the fear, no matter the past, no matter who doubts you. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to move forward while scared. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to take the next step. The world doesn't respond to words, it responds to action. So show up, speak up, step up. No matter what. They laughed. Loud, certain, and unbothered. When I dropped out in third grade, they wrote the ending for me before the story had even started. They thought that was it. A dead end. Another name on a long list of wasted chances. But that wasn't the end. It was the ignition. What they didn't know is that the moment they counted me out, I counted myself in. They saw a dropout. I saw a door. They saw failure. I saw fuel. I didn't let their judgment bury me. I used it to build. I didn't fight to prove them wrong. I fought to become who I knew I could be. This isn't about school. This is about what happens when someone decides their story isn't over. When someone refuses to be defined by a chapter that wasn't written for them. That dropout moment wasn't the finish line. It was the fire starter. And now, I don't run from that moment. I honor it. Because that's where I found my fight. That's where I found my voice. So when they tell you your story is over, smile. Because they've just given you the perfect place to begin again. He was small, quiet, unsure. The boy they pointed at. The one they brushed off like he'd never amount to anything. They didn't see potential. They saw a joke. But the thing about pain is, it teaches. The thing about being counted out is it sharpens. That boy watched. He listened. He learned. And he grew. Not just in stature, but in strength. Not just in skills, but in spirit. He stopped trying to fit in and started standing up. And now they quote the very words they used to laugh at. Now they study the mind they once dismissed. But this story isn't about revenge. It's about rise. It's about turning wounds into wisdom. and showing the world that what they mocked can become what they follow. That boy they laughed at, he became the blueprint. They laughed. I stayed quiet, but I built. Day by day, brick by brick. While they pointed, I prepared. While they joked, I grinded. They doubted me, said I'd never last, that I didn't have it, but I didn't argue. I delivered. I let the work do the talking. I let the results write the reply. And when they mocked, I didn't shrink. I rose higher than they ever imagined, not to get back at them, but to rise for myself. Every laugh was a brick. Every doubt was fuel. Every word they used to break me became the reason I broke through. This wasn't luck. This wasn't handed to me. This was built in the shadows, earned in the silence, forged in the fire of everything they said I couldn't do. So let them laugh. Let them doubt. Let them mock. You just build. You just deliver. You just rise. Your life isn't a game. It's not a dress rehearsal. It's a torch, a fire, and you've got two options. Light it, or let it burn out without ever doing what you were here to do. The people who laughed at you don't matter. The people who left don't decide your future. But what you do with your fire, that's everything. You can keep playing small. You can keep waiting for permission. Or you can strike the match, and that match is your decision. To show up, to lead, to build, to burn brighter than your fear. There are people out there who need your light, but they can't see it if you keep hiding. Don't let your life dim down to comfort. Don't let regret be the story they tell about you. Be the one who lights the way, because someone out there is stuck in the dark waiting for the fire you've been sitting on. Don't wait. Time isn't slowing down. Don't hesitate. Fear won't get quieter. Rise, even if your legs shake. Speak, even if your voice cracks. Become, because the world needs who you are becoming. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now,